Good morning, good morning, good morning, friends. How's everybody doing today? Look at my eyes, just look like little slits because I'm so tired this morning. We had it wasn't a terribly rough night, but it was kind of a rough day yesterday. We had a lot of weather come through. Um, I did some recording up here in the craft room yesterday, and the background noise in some of my video is just like howling. It sounds like I'm outside. The windows were just, the curtains were blowing and the rain, and it was just kind of a really strange day yesterday. We had a lot of weird weather come through. Um, and we expected a lot of really bad weather in the evening, but you know what? Once again, just like on December 15th, which I'm putting together a video right now of our time in the basement on December 15th when we had a record, I think it was 61 tornadoes come through Iowa on December 15th, and we were in the basement. And I didn't put that together for the longest time. I thought, nobody's interested in seeing that. I thought, I should probably put that video together. We threaded the needle, so to speak. Good morning, Tiny Tim. Good morning, Joe. Good afternoon, says the major. Frightened the life out of me. I forgot I'd left it waiting for you to come on and just started speaking in the corner. Made me jump out of my skin. Sorry, Major. I have that effect on people. So, on December 15th, like I was saying, we had 61 tornadoes come through Iowa, and it just kind of threaded the needle. It went directly to the south. One went to the south of us and hit a little community a little bit to the east of us. And then it did some damage to the north of us. And then yesterday, it looked like we were in direct line for some tornadoes. And once again, those southern winds kind of just pushed them a little bit away from us. I want to ask Denise. Denise, how did your farm fare last night? I shared with some friends this morning who wrote to check on us. It was kind of like a little bit of a redneck Christmas here this morning. I've got stuff in my yard. I don't think it belongs to me. And I know I've got stuff that does belong to me that's scattered all over the place. Um, but you know what? We fared really well. I've got some videos pulled up. I'm going to share with you guys and some pictures that I'll share with you guys to show you some of the damage that once again, it threaded the needle. We had stuff to the west of us, took some direct hits from some tornadoes, and stuff to the north of us took some direct hits. I contemplated this morning. I've got a friend who lives north of me, and she had posted on social media this morning that stay out of their area. It's a mess. The streets are all closed down, lots of damage. And I thought, well, I've got a truck. I can't lift anything. I can't do anything, but dang it, I can drive that truck. So I thought about filling the truck up and heading up to that community, and people can load stuff in the back of the truck, and then I can drive it and they can unload it. I could at least be of service that way. But I have been told there's plenty of trucks on scene right now. I don't need to do that. So I think I'm just going to stay home. The weather, I don't think we're expecting bad weather today, so to speak, but it's gloomy and it's overcast. And if they have able-bodied people that are able to actually really get in there and get some of that debris taken care of, I'll stay out of the way. I took a walk outside, lots of branches down. Yeah, I've got some fresh branches down too, Denise. I see a lot of fresh wood, so I can tell that there's some fresh breaks out there, but not too bad. We didn't get it real bad. The places around us did. So I pulled up a couple things to share with you guys this morning. So I think I stayed up till about midnight when the last line of storms blew through. We had everything ready down in the basement. I had a lot of friends that were kind of on pins and needles, wondering if we were going to be okay. And I want to assure everybody we're fine. My son, who lives a little bit to the north of us, he says they're fine, although they were in their basement for several hours. But I'm waiting to see what their town looks like, because their town was mentioned on quite a few media outlets last night that there were some tornadoes there. Also, here waiting to hear from my husband, because there were some unverified reports on social media from some mutual friends that there were 4 tornadoes in the teeny tiny little town where my husband works. Forecast bad weather here in Arkansas today. Yes, Tim, we are keeping an eye on Arkansas today. It's supposed to get windy again, according to Denise. So yeah, I'm just going to stay home today. I'm not able-bodied. I've got this really bad wrist. There's no way I can go out and pick up a bunch of debris, but I thought if I could just drive back and forth but they've got trucks that have the lifts on them to dump. They've got it. And then there's enough trucks. If I felt I was really needed, I'd jump in that truck and I would go because I can at least drive. That's how I can help. But I think right now I'm going to be more help staying away and letting some of those people take care of what they need to take care of. So my coffee's already cold. It's kind of chilly up here in the room today. Doing better with Mariah. Good morning. Good morning. Welcome. And we were just talking about all of our crazy weather that we had here in Iowa today. And, I've got things pulled up ready to go to show you guys some things, but I can't share more than one screen at a time. It won't let me line them up. So I've got one queued up. I want to thank Tiny Tim for, and I've already done it on the community page. Hello, Ben's Over Acres. Yeah, we're all good. Thank you. Thank you. I forgot what I was going to say. Oh, when I come on here on my coffee lives, for those of you who are new, something will spark a story. Somebody will say something. I will see something. Oh my gosh, that reminds me of a story. And I will share stories here on my coffee chat. Well, then I've got some other friends in social media areas or on YouTube, and I'll say, oh, that shark story. And they're like, what? Well, I don't know about a shark story. It's like, oh yeah, I told you guys about that in my coffee chat. And they're like, well, I was at work. Wasn't there for the coffee chat. I don't know what you're talking about. Gosh darn that hair just needs to just lay down. Cooperate, hair. I had my hair in curlers. I took my hair down out of the curlers just before we went live. It was stormy in North Texas too. Yes. Thankful your garden is okay. Anyway, so I tell these stories, but not everybody gets to hear them. So I have my friend over at Gail Southern Living, and Gail says, I really want to tell my stories too. You've inspired me to tell my stories. So she and I were talking one day, and we came up with a really fun name for her stories, and she's been putting her stories out with great success. And I thought, I need to do that too. Even though I tell my stories in my coffee chat, I probably need to just record them. And because I have a blog, they're written down in a blog, but why not record them and actually tell the stories? And I've told several here. So I recorded my very first story and I put it out on my community page that I was looking for a name for my little story segment. Because when I was speaking with Gail, she's like, I don't know, I need to come up with something. And we were talking about it. She goes, I don't know, Gail's Tales. And it's like, oh my gosh. Gail's Tales was the perfect name for her little story segments. And so I was trying to come up with something for mine, and I put it out there on the community page. And lots of wonderful, wonderful suggestions. I want to thank everybody who made suggestions. It was really great. But, I had considered, since I've started crocheting on my channel as well, and I've been crowing. I've been crowing a long time too. I've been crocheting since I was 8. And so I've had Lisa over at Yogi Hollow Farm. She was always saying, when are you going to get the crochet going on your channel? It's like, I will. And I had some things to work out. It's very difficult. Some of you may not realize, but to get a top-down camera angle without your camera rotating funny and to make sure it's a hassle. You should see the nightmare I have set up in front of me here to get some of those top-down shots for crochet. It just took me a while to get things going. And I finally got it up. And it's like, I've got a little bit of response here. I've got people joining me for crochet, and I love to crochet. It's kind of my my passion and my therapy. I love to do it. And I thought, I should somehow incorporate the word yarn into my name. And I looked up the definition of, to spin a yarn. And I was talking it over with Papa Jim, and I said, what do you think? He's like, I don't know. But then Tiny Tim Posey put on that little poll that I had put out to everybody. My arm itches. I'm sorry. That was rude. Good morning. Good morning, Kate. He said, Mama's Tangles and Yarns. And I thought, that's it. I mean, it's confirmation. I shared it with my son in California, who is the one who got me started into considering even having a YouTube channel. I said, this is what I was thinking. And then this name was suggested. He goes, Mom, it's confirmation right there. It's a great name. Mama's Tangles and Yarns. And I thought, that's it. It is. So thank you, Tiny Tim. It was such a wonderful suggestion. I ran with it, and I actually recorded my first episode the other day. I'm going to give you a teaser. I'm going to bring up a teaser right now so you guys can see that I've got my little thumbnail all set up, and I'm going to do things a little different. I'm not just going to come up and tell you a story. I don't even know. Do I have this queued up where I need it? Let me see if I even have it queued up where I need it. I don't, but I'm going to show you the first minute of it. So without further ado, because we are already, we're 10 minutes into this live, I'm going to give you guys a teaser of my first episode of Mama's Tangles and Yarns. So let me see if I can add it up here to the stream. There it is. Let me see. Am I going to be able to? There, I'll just put myself in the corner. Oh, took myself off completely. Well, thank you. Thank you. All right, guys, here is just a teaser of episode 1. I hope you guys can see and hear everything okay as we throw this up here of Mama's Tangles and Yarns. Well, hello and welcome to the farm and welcome to our first episode of Mama's Tangles and Yarns. Grab yourself a cup of coffee, sit back, and I'm going to share with you a story. I love to tell my stories, and I've been sharing them during my coffee chats, but I decided to bring them to you in little chapters at a time here from my craft room. So let's take a look at what our mystery item will be that will invoke a story today. I'm at one of my favorite thrift stores. Let's see if I can find something to spark a favorite memory. I found a pair of pantyhose, and that makes me think of a story. Are you intrigued? If so, stick around. Oh my goodness. This is a fun one. And that's it. That's all the teaser you get. Did you guys get to see it? Could you see the teaser? Could you hear the teaser okay? Comment so I can I know that you guys actually got to see it before I start talking off the charts here and then not even know that you guys whether got to see it or not. Let me remove this off of my thing so I can share some more in a little bit here. What's cooking good looking? Hello, Miss Kelly. You just missed my teaser for my new unless you saw it. Yes, Mariah. Thank you. Thank you, Denise. Sounds good. Okay, so Kelly, I don't know if you got to see it, but I just did a little teaser about some of the stories I'm going to be sharing and the format that I'll be doing that in. So I was speaking with my son, the one in California, and I said, Tiny Tim has given me this great name suggestion, and I'm going to run with it, and I need to find some way to put a unique spin on telling my stories. And then it dawned on me, oh my stars. You didn't see a thing, Major. You stinker. I said, I'm going to, because this happens a lot. I'll be out somewhere and I'll see something and it reminds me of a story. I said, I'm going to intentionally go to different thrift stores and I'm going to walk around thrift stores. And when I see something that sparks a memory of a story, I'll grab it or I'll take a video of it. And then I will use that as my intro and my teaser to tell you guys a story. I love that you started with a thrift store. That's so relatable. So many of us who see some random items that send us back to a memory. Yes, Mariah. Wonderful. I'm glad I went with that approach because when I told that to my son, he's like, yes, Mom, you need to do that. So look what I got right here. Look, I put out, I'm going to show you in a second. Oh, Major, you always pick the wrong times. So I had a poll up on another poll. I'm really starting to love using polls on my community page. And I had a poll up and in alphabetical order, I put 4 items up. I didn't tell anybody what it was for other than it was going to be for my upcoming stories. So the items were in alphabetical order. Let me think. Lightsaber, pantyhose, porta potty, and wedding dress. Those were the 4 choices. And I got to tell you guys, yesterday when I went to go do the recording to film this, there was a three-way tie. So I had to decide which one am I going to do. So I went with the pantyhose. So if you want to know more about the pantyhose, I need this from you guys too. I need to know. Do you guys when do you think I should schedule these? I think I'll do them as premieres. Would you like to have them on Friday mornings as premieres, or should I do them on Tuesdays so you can see them? We can maybe chit chat a little bit about it during the coffee chat on Wednesdays, and then I will promote the next one. You guys kind of give me an idea. When do you think you'd like to see my tangles and yarns? Goodness, goodness, Tiny Tim, 17. I knew somebody who wore size 15 shoes. I've never, you know what they say about men with big, big shoes, don't you, Tiny Tim? They have big feet. Or you can reverse that. You know what they say about men with big feet, right? They have big shoes. Any day, negative on the mornings. I know, but I don't know. I don't know when to post them because I have to have it if I'm going to do it as a premiere. I don't know if I should do it as a premiere or just post them out there. I don't know. Anyways, look what I've got. Now, I didn't buy the pantyhose before telling my story, but I did take the video of the pantyhose. So if you want to know about the pantyhose story, keep an eye out. I will be posting that video. It's all obviously recorded and edited. It's ready to drop. Gonna put it up. But look what I did buy. I did buy the lightsaber. The lightsaber. It lights up. Look, it lights up and everything. So I bought the lightsaber to tell my lightsaber story. So I'll tell that one too. You're an evening kind of gal. I know I'm a night owl. I'm not a morning person. But I don't know. We'll see when I drop that. We'll see when I drop that. I might leave it as a surprise. See if you guys are paying attention. But the pantyhose story is fun. It is hysterical. I had a lot of fun recording it yesterday. Lots of fun memories. Oh my goodness. Yes, Mr. Jim knows. Mr. Jim knows. Okay, let's see. Let's see if I can bring up another thing to share because I wanted to share something. Let's see what it'll let me do. Okay, let's see. Did it share? Okay. Real quickly, guys, I'm going to share this. This gives you an idea of what happened just to the west of us. This was last night, just before the sunset. You know, what was kind of scary was the majority of things that happened were just at dusk. And can I move myself like over here? Nope. Oh, well. And then dark. So we didn't know what was coming as things were progressing. So let me see. I'm going to play this and see if you guys can see it. I wish I knew how to make it bigger. She said. Tornado on the ground right now, just to the south and the west of Gilmore City. Folks along Highway 3, east of Gilmore City to the northeast of Gilmore. Okay, we have a tornado on the ground right now, just to the southwest. Yeah, let's go, 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 go. Punch it. I mean, punch it. I mean, punch it. Get out of there. I got it. Were you live there when it touched? Yeah. Okay, keep going. No one's gonna pull you over. Just drive. Just drive, he says. Just drive. I don't blame him. It's scary. Bo, I love you, but can you drive just a tish faster? Just a smidge faster, please. I really love you, but can you drive just a little faster? I'd really appreciate it. So that's just one of the tornadoes that when we had this storm system come through. And like I said, I have some unverified reports from some friends on Facebook that said that after it went through that community, it went to the community where my husband works, and there were 4 tornadoes. That's unverified. And I haven't heard from my husband yet this morning. to know whether that was true or, just maybe some damaging wind. So now I'll show you what happened to the north of us. And this is where I've said I've got a friend that put out on social media this morning and said, don't come up. Don't come up because there's just a lot of stuff going on right now. And they just kind of need everybody to just give them their space. But this is to the north of us. This is just one of the communities. It doesn't look that bad now that I see it on your screen, but I mean, it really was quite interesting. I don't know if I can scroll over. Probably not. Probably should have left it where it was. Let's see here. Some of these are up in Minnesota. We're pretty close to the line here. So this is actually across state line. Again, across state line, but it's relatively close to where we are. There we go. This is in our next major town. There's some damage. They got some pretty strong winds over there. So this is where I was saying I thought about maybe just grabbing my truck and running up there so that they could put debris in the back of the truck and I could drive it to wherever they're dumping stuff. But just decided I'm going to just stay home. So that's kind of what's been happening down here. We just little excitement in the neighborhood. Thankfully, no deaths reported, possibly some minor injuries, but nothing really bad. You see what Nightbot just said, let's get Bland's Promised Land Ranch to 1,000. I put their link there. There's some great friends down in Texas. They had some weather go through last night as well, and we're really hoping to get them up to 1,000. Good morning, Grace and Fire. You missed my teaser. I did a little teaser for Mama's Tangles and Yarns, my story time. And if you saw the, let me pull it. I'm not going to pull the whole teaser up, but I do want to show you, if I can find it, the great little, let me see if I can find. No, it's not there. I wanted to do the, let me cancel that. The little thumbnail that I did for my Mama's Tangles and Yarns. I was going to show you that, but I did a teaser. You'll have to go back and watch that. We did a little teaser for our very first episode of Mama's Tangles and Yarns. And it's, I forget what it says. It says something like, oh gosh, what does it say? Oh, I forgot what I actually did. It says something like true stories of a crazy country mama and her chickens. It was fun. Yes, everybody's good here. The boys are all reporting everything's fine. Now, they did have, if any of you watch a weather channel that we like to rely on a lot, it's Ryan Hall, y'all. Ryan Hall, y'all has put together a really great team of storm chasers that are out and about, and they put videos up, and they put some videos up last night of a tornado where my son lives. And it's nighttime, but the lightning flashes. And as the lightning flashes, you can see the silhouette of the tornado. And based on where they were sitting on the side of the interstate and where this flash is, and there are groves of trees. And when you live out in this community like this, you get to know where places are and where people are based on the grove of trees, because we just have expanse nothingness for crops and then a grove of trees. And in a grove of trees is usually where there is a structure, a farm, or something of the like. And based on where these storm chasers were last night and then where the tornado is, my son called my husband right away and goes, I think that's where such and such is. And it's actually, my son just gave his notice a month ago and is no longer working for a certain company. But it's like, that's right where that was, is in that grove of trees. So I'm waiting to hear this morning to see if it was indeed hit, because if it is, it's very sad. Um, because he used to work at the hog barns, and so he thinks that this was a specific hog barn, and they have hundreds and hundreds of pigs. And so I'm hoping it wasn't hit, because ultimately I understand their destiny, but I wouldn't want them to take a direct hit last night. That would have been terrible. I haven't heard from him yet this morning. Still listening, just folding 6 loads of laundry before yoga and going to haul in 1,000 gallons of water. Oh, yes, you guys are really, really doing your off-grid stuff so well. You've acclimated, you've made changes. You guys are doing great pulling everything together. Really, really impressed with what you guys are doing. And if you guys have not been over to Roost and Rescue, they got a new little one on the farm yesterday that they just put the video up. Very, very adorable. You have to check that out. Earbuds in so you can listen and while you're at work. So that's pretty much what's been going on here. I was so thankful for some beautiful weather. I got out and picked up a little bit, and now it's all blown over all over the place again. So I'll be looking for some good weather to get out there and do that again. But Major's going to love this one, because he's always lamenting about poor Papa Jim, and poor Papa Jim's. I got to take the price tag off of this lightsaber. It is driving me insane. There, now I feel better. Papa Jim and I went down. I was going to go down yesterday and kind of straighten up the basement a little bit, because I figured we'd be spending time down there. We've only spent time in the basement for tornadoes and such twice since we've moved onto the farm 8 years ago. And the last time we went down there, it was, it's just a mess. A basement is just a catch-all. We don't have a finished basement that's a beautiful living space. It's just a catch-all where everything goes, right? And I've been thinking about making some changes down there. Well, we went down there yesterday and we were sweeping up and moving things around. We set up our card table and our chairs, and took our little grab and go emergency kits down there, and our helmets. We bought helmets at the thrift store the other day. So we have helmets to put on in case there's a tornado and you don't want debris hitting you in the head. And so I told Papa Jim, I said, I've been thinking. And Papa Jim always knows, as soon as I say, I've been thinking, it's dangerous. And the Major's already onto it. He knows it's dangerous. Good morning, Laura. Hedgehog Homestead. My son and his beautiful bride had a send-off with a lightsaber arch at his wedding. Oh, you have a few of those there. Well, there will be a story coming up related to what I found in the thrift store, which is this lightsaber. I was walking along and I said, well, that makes me think of a story, so I bought it. So I found several things that, as I was walking through that one particular thrift store, and so Grace and Fire, that's the whole gist of my storytelling, is I'm going to go to random thrift stores. I'm going to walk through thrift stores, because you know how I am about that Goodwill $10 challenge that I want to do. I thought, why not involve a thrift store in it? So I am going to walk around thrift stores, and when I see something that sparks a memory of a story, I'm going to record it or buy it, and then I will come back and tell you my Tangles and Yarn stories. Just getting caught up here. So, gosh, what was I talking about? Oh, the basement. So, I was going to go down yesterday and start cleaning things up on my own to get everything ready so that we'd have a little place to sit down, turn on a lamp, play some cards, and just kind of ride the storm out. But I waited until Papa Jim came home, because as windy and blustery as it was yesterday, I thought it's better that I'm not down there by myself. Just because, I don't know, I just didn't feel comfortable being down there by myself. It's creepy down there. I don't like creepy, scary basements. And it's not a dirt floor. We do have a poured floor, but it's just creepy down there. And plus, last year there was something living under the house, so I don't know what's down there. So we just don't want to be down there. So, oh, hey, Chris's Clever Craft, welcome in. Glad you're here. So while we were down there cleaning up, we just had some sweeping and reorganizing and setting up of the table and making sure everything was at the ready. I said, Papa Jim, I've been thinking. He's like, oh no. Yeah, I really think we need to make this a more usable space down here. So I've already been thinking there's things I want to do. And I told him the other day, I really want to set up a studio down there. I like having my studio up here. I'll still keep this up here, up in my craft room. But I want to set up a different type of studio down in my basement. And so I've been on the prowl for a new oven. I don't have a traditional stove and oven in my kitchen. I do all of my work out of a really nice little convection oven and what are those little cooktops? A little induction cooktop. I don't have the traditional stove and oven. I don't need it. But wouldn't it be nice if I got a really nice an oven and stove down in the basement where I can do major batches of canning? Now, I have my canning set up out in the summer kitchen right now, and I do some out there. I do some in the kitchen here, but for a big batch, why not just do it down in the basement and have it set up like a little cute country kitchen down there? Bring you guys along for some canning, and that way I don't have to haul everything outside and then back in. When I'm done with major batches, if I get 20 or 30 quarts of something done, I can just stack them down there for storage. And that's one of the things right now, as I told Papa Jim, I really want some nice racks put up down there so I could put my canning down there. He goes, but that's going to be really hard on you carrying all of those jars down into the basement and then back up out of the basement. I thought, why don't I just can them down in the basement and store them in the basement? And then when I need a can of beans, I'll just go down and just bring up one can of beans. So stay tuned. I might be up to something about putting that together. I love the induction cooktop. When we were redesigning this farmhouse, which if you haven't seen, I did put the video up where we showed the demolition and the renovation of the living room. So that was chapter 4. I've done 4 chapters. This room was one of them. This room was a disaster when we first moved into this house. It was like lath and plaster falling off of the walls. Upstairs, some teens had broken into this home while it was unoccupied. They lit fires on the floor. I mean, it was just a mess. So this was actually the very first room that we did, and it was really bad. So we've done 4 chapters on the renovation of this farmhouse. Then I did the entire garage where I turned it into my summer kitchen, and my family thought I was absolutely insane. Oh, yeah. Well, you're probably out, Laura, where you probably just don't have some of the best off-grid internet, and plus you guys might have some weather down there, I think, today. So no worries. But I was thinking I really want to do something that makes it a little bit more comfortable down there in the basement so that when we do have to bug out for a storm, I've got a nice little table set up. We've got more comfortable chairs. We'll keep our cots down there. It's difficult because we're going to have to try to maintain the moisture. We do get a lot of moisture down in that basement. We do have a little dehumidifier running all the time. But it's old. It's an old basement. It's actually, I don't know if you guys, some of you were here last week during my live. And all of the guineas were alerting that there was something going on. And I ran to the bathroom to look out the window, and there was a skunk in the chicken yard. And I came back to tell you guys I didn't know what I was going to do. And I had just started telling you that this was a 1902 farmhouse. And I was just starting to tell you why I was so distressed. I didn't know what I was going to do because I thought the skunk had gone down the coal chute into the basement. I thought the skunk was in the basement, and I didn't know what I was going to do because all of the guineas are around the coal chute, and the coal chute was ajar. And I thought, oh, Lord, that skunk's in the basement. But just when I was telling you that I thought something was happening, then I saw the skunk out of the corner of my eye outside and the dog's chasing after it. And then I was like, oh, my gosh, my dog's going to get sprayed by a skunk. And she did. That skunk. Well, let me tell you. Well, the summer kitchen is beautiful, Major, and I just love spending time out there. It's nice because in the summertime, we can cook out there. I can can out there. We can just relax out there and have coffee or lunch. I don't have to worry about the mosquitoes getting to us because it's all screened in. It's absolutely beautiful. It was a little 2-car garage when we first moved here. It was dank and dirty and nasty. And then we built a chicken coop inside of it. and we had all of our chickens out there. And then we had 3 rescued potbelly pigs, and the potbelly pigs laid up against the side of the chicken coop and busted the boards out. So they were out in the rest of the garage and made a literal pigsty out of it. And it was filthy. It was a mess. And one day I just got it in my head that I wanted to turn that into a more usable space. Why am I letting 3 pigs run 600 square foot of usable space? So got them back out into the chicken run, and I cleaned that place. I spent 5 weeks. It is gorgeous now. So, and when I was in the basement yesterday, I found an old wrought iron chandelier that's going to get a fresh coat of paint, and that's hanging up in my summer kitchen. So, I mean, I've always got ideas, but Papa Jim and the boys, they thought I was absolutely insane when I told them I was going to turn that area into a summer kitchen. But they rolled with it. I mean, they'd come over and check on me, and they would just like shake their head and think, Mom has absolutely completely lost it. But she's up off the couch. This is after cancer and chemo, and I was just kind of sitting around, and this may be troubling to some people, but it's true. I was basically just sitting around waiting to die, um, because of my diagnosis and because I was quite literally losing 2 or 3 friends a week in that community of ovarian cancer. And I thought, I'm just waiting for that shoe to fall. And that kind of pulled me out of it. That really pulled me out of it to get up and start doing that project. So the boys were real happy that I was at least off the couch doing something. But they thought I was insane. But once I got it all cleaned out, I mean, I had to completely deconstruct the chicken coop. I had been doing the deep litter system for 5 years. So I had 2 foot of rock solid compost that I had to get the actual rototiller in there and till that all up. But it went into my hugelkultur raised garden, so it had all of those beautiful nutrients in it. And then I started pressure washing it. And once that started happening, I think Papa Jim was like, I'm starting to see the vision. It's like, see, I'm not so crazy, am I? He goes, no, I think you're onto something. So we cut the sides of the garage out, like, I don't know, 15 feet on each side, left the original post, the 2x6 or 2x4 posts, and then we screened it all in. We had 2 garage doors that roll up, and Papa Jim built some framework with screens in the front. We can still close them in the wintertime, but we can open them up in the summertime. We get a beautiful breeze. I've got all kinds of vintage little kitchen furniture in there and a vintage kitchen table. And he got me a little vintage refrigerator. And I've got all of my stuff set up so I can can out there if I want to. We can barbecue when we want to out there, all kinds of fun stuff. So he knows once I start thinking about something, I can pull it together. My little Boston Terriers got sprayed by a skunk the day yours did. Oh my goodness, Denise. It was a day for skunks. Oh, I have to tell you more. Yes, it is. I made purpose of that garage. So Denise, to tell you and to tell everybody else. So that was on Wednesday that Honey was sprayed by the skunk. I got video of me giving her spa marinade of tomato juice. And then, Papa Jim came home. I was like, guess what happened today? Somebody's not too happy. And, we loved on her. She was only doing her job, which was to try to protect the farm. She was chasing that thing away. Psh, right in the face. She got it right in the face. So the reason May did not get sprayed, that's our other yellow dog, was because she wears a collar that keeps her within a certain limitation of the farm, because that girl loves to run. So when she gets 50 feet away from the farm, she gets just a little bit of, hello, you need to turn around and go back. Well, on Friday, I think her batteries were low. Either that or she broke the plane and went past where she was supposed to go, and then it didn't alert her anymore. So why tomato juice? I'll explain that in a second. So I had let the dogs out, and Honey was right at the door, but I couldn't find Maymay, and I called and called and called and called, and she just wasn't right here. Well, I ran around to the back of the house, and she comes running in from the grove, more than her 50 feet perimeter. I said, what have you been up to? And as soon as she got close to me, it's like, oh my heavens. That dog had chased that skunk. That skunk had come back and she chased that skunk and she was sprayed. So Wednesday, Honey got sprayed by a skunk. Friday, Mamie got sprayed. I'm assuming by the same skunk. I'm hoping it's not this. I'm hoping it's the same skunk and that we don't have a whole plethora of skunks back in the grove. So I just kept her outside. The weather was nice enough that she just stayed outside. I didn't have the strength. It took quite a bit for me to wash the first dog with the tomato juice. And Mamie is more of Jim's dog. She tolerates me and she's younger and stronger than Honey. Honey's a senior dog. And I thought, I just don't know with, this wrist that's bothering me so much. I don't know if I can wash her without her maybe knocking me down or taking out her aggressions on me. So when Roxy got sprayed, we used the dish soap peroxide baking soda recipe, and it works like a charm. I'll never use tomato juice again. I have heard about that recipe before, Kelly, and I had considered it. But I mean, Honey took a direct shot right to the face. And with me, the only one available, I had to get her cleaned up and get brought in the house because it was cold and it was rainy, and it wasn't fair to leave her outside. And I was here by myself. So the tomato juice, I was confident that I could just slather it all over her face and rinse her down real good. But with the Dawn and the peroxide, I didn't want to get it in her eyes. And so I did not use that recipe simply because I just didn't want to risk harming her. So I didn't do that. But it is probably a really good recipe, and I've had other people suggest it before, and I'd heard of it before, but I just didn't want to do that. So I had to wait for Papa Jim to get home to handle Maymay. And he came home, but he didn't come right in the house, and Maymay was still outside. And he had some stuff he had to do in the garage, and I was trying to get dinner ready, and then I heard the door open, and I'm like, stop! I ran to the front door. Dog's in the house. I was like, don't you smell that dog? He's like, what? I said, he'd had a cold all week. And I said, she's been sprayed by a skunk. Get her outside. And as soon as I said that, he's like, oh, I smell it. I said, get her out of this house. I said, you're going to have to clean her up this time because I just don't think I can handle her. And she actually did really well. So once again, out of the pantry came a big old container of tomato juice. And, I don't know what it is about the tomato juice, Major, but that's been a long time remedy for anytime anybody's sprayed by a skunk, that just kind of helps with the stench. And so Papa Jim hosed her down, and she was freshly marinated in a beautiful, beautiful tomato juice, lathered it in there around her face real good. She was lapping it up a little bit. And then we rinsed her off, dried her off, and brought her in the house, and we didn't smell it anymore. It actually worked really, really well. Roxy took it to the face too, brought her inside to our tub, and did that immediately. The smell was gone. Yeah, Kelly, I haven't spoken to you all, but I have to get another cortisone shot in this wrist. And so that's as far as I can open my thumb. I can't do that. That's about it. I had a cortisone shot last January. I've re-injured it. I need another cortisone shot. And so there's not a lot I can do with this wrist. And there was no way I was getting her into the tub safely, my senior dog. There was no way I was going to be able to wrangle her and hold her still and get her rinsed off. So I just did it out on the front porch with the hose and a jar of tomato sauce, and that was it. Really? It did nothing? No, this worked. We couldn't smell it after that. It really did work. And I was afraid it wasn't going to work, but at the time it was all I had, especially since, around her eyes and everything. And I thought I just didn't know what I was going to do. And it actually worked. We didn't smell it anymore. This worked. So kudos to my local store and their brand of tomato juice because it really did quite well. So 8 years on the farm, no close calls with skunks, 2 sprays in 1 week. So I've got all of the video. It's sitting in the archives. I'll be putting that together and putting together a little video of our little skunk capades and get that taken care of. But in addition to what I'm thinking about doing for my basement and setting that up as a really nice little place, because I just don't like going down there. I need to have it where it's a little bit more user-friendly and a place where I'm not afraid to go. There is a canning closet down there under the staircase, and I've only peeked my head in there once. We've lived here 8 years. I don't know if it's because I was traumatized as a child watching movies with my dad, like The People Under the Stairs or something. Blair Witch Project. I don't know what it is, but I don't like being down there. And I've only opened that door once. I may have peeked all the way under the stairs. I don't recall. I'm sure I did, but there was a can of peaches on one of the shelves, and I reached in real quick and I grabbed it and I looked at it, and then I shut the door, and I haven't opened it since. But there is a canning root cellar down there, and I just need to utilize that. But I want to go down there and clean it all out, clean out all the cobwebs, because it has the open rafter joists above your head, which I'll tell you that the only working shower is down there. When we first moved here, we've since renovated the bathroom. And we used to have to go down into that dirty basement to shower. Oh, it was awful. And I remember one time I had the washer and dryer down there as well. And when I would go down to take a shower, I would just pop a towel in the dryer and set it for 10 minutes, and my towel would be nice and warm. And I hopped out of the shower one day and I flipped my head over, put the towel on and wrapped it, and then I flipped it back up. And when that towel went up, that towel just like went perfectly right in between two of the joists and gathered all of the spider webs and then deposited them on the back of my thighs and my backside. I had super ninja moves that day getting out of that towel and trying to get away from those spider webs, because I didn't know if there were spiders in them. Of course, they're just daddy long legs. We don't have any poisonous or venomous spiders here, but I did not like that. I shed out of those things real quick and jumped right back in the shower. And spider webs, when they're wet, they don't rinse off easily. It's crazy how things happen in waves like that, right, Chris? All of a sudden, one of the feral cats around here killed one of my chickens. Oh no, that's not good. That's not good. We had a pretty big feral cat that was coming around. He brought a friend one day, and they were kind of eyeing the chickens. And I won't kill anything here, but I did. I plinked some BBs across his bow just to say, "Come on, out you go. You're not welcome here." I grew up in Western New York, where basements are the norm. Lived down south 10 years, where basements are foreign. I prefer no basement, creepy. Yeah, getting a shower and cleaning cobwebs at the same time. It should be a talent competition in a beauty pageant, because I did that quite well. So, but I have dreams of going down there, making sure everything is all secured, all of the wires and the plumbing and everything that runs in those joists, and then putting up some corrugated metal roofing, and putting in some cabinets down there and a nice little countertop and my stove that I want to look into getting, and just kind of having it set up as a nice little canning area and a place where we can sit when we have storms. So daddy longlegs are actually the most venomous spider. They just can't reach us to bite us with their long legs. Interesting fact. Yeah, my basement was full of them. Then there's cobwebs. Jim got some of the cobwebs last night when we were getting ready for this storm system to blow through. But in addition to that, since we on Wednesday, we did lose one of our Bettys to the skunk. I told Jim, I said, and we've got the whole birdie sneeze flu out here. I told Papa Jim, I do want to rethink our chicken coop and our run again. So I've had the drawing pad out, and I've been drawing and writing and little schematics. And if I took the time, I'd actually probably have it on a spreadsheet, because, Google Excel, you can plant little things in there like circles and plants and triangles and trapezoids. And I could just draw it all out on a Google Excel or on a Microsoft Excel, but I haven't done that yet. But I'm rethinking my chicken coop. I'm rethinking the chicken run. Unfortunately, I think the lumber has come down a little bit, but I told him, I said, we've got a lot of lumber that hasn't been burned yet from when the barn collapsed, and we can salvage some of that. And so I'm rethinking the whole chicken run. And I'm also rethinking about because of this, what I'm going to do in my garden this year. And that is, I was not going to do cucumbers again this year, because I had so many cucumbers last year. I told myself no more than cucumbers. Well, I think what I'll do is I'll plant some salad cucumbers and some pickling cucumbers, and I'm going to plant them on the side where I'm going to do my new chicken run, so they'll grow up and over, provide them with some shade, provide them with some snicky snacks every once in a while, and just kind of incorporate it so that the new chicken run will look a little softer in the spring and summer and fall months, because I'll have a lot of foliage growing over them, and then I can just rip it all down after the winter. I'll leave it up in the wintertime as well, leave all of those dead vines and everything to give them just a little bit of cover, and then I'll start fresh the whole next year. Yeah, I was going to say, when you said that earlier, they can't reach us with their long legs. I didn't think it was the legs so much as that their teeth aren't quite right to actually bite us. But I don't even kill the spiders. I have Papa Jim relocate the spiders when we have spiders here in the home. We had a big wolf spider in the bedroom the other day, and I actually did a live. I went live when it's like, okay, I woke up to seeing this spider over my head, and I freaked out and I had to wait all day. I had to watch it. There is a meme going around right now, and it says, something like out of sight, out of mind, which is true unless there's a spider in your bedroom, because if it's out of sight, it is not out of mind. You are wondering where that thing is. And I did not want to lose sight, because this thing was, this big around. I didn't want to lose sight of where that spider was, because I don't want to go to bed at night and wonder if it's on the other side of my headboard, or maybe it's snuggled up to get warm in between the pillows. Or even worse, did it crawl inside the mask and then down the air tube for my CPAP machine that I wear at nighttime? I don't want to turn that sucker on and have a spider in my face. Oh my gosh. So I waited all day for Papa Jim to come home. And Laura says it was funny. Laura saw that. And in that video, I cut it off at the end, Laura. But when Papa Jim released that spider out at the walnut tree and he came back, and he kind of like jumped at me like, oh, it's still here. And I jumped and I screamed. It was because I was reaching for the jar and he hit that thumb. And that's when I re-injured that thumb. So that's been since, I don't know, August, September, that I've really been nursing this injury and in pain every day. I just need to buck up and go up to the hospital and get another cortisone shot. So that's when I re-injured that thumb. But I don't kill the spiders. They go back outside. And I won't kill the skunk. I don't know what's going to happen to the skunk. Papa Jim and the boys are discussing what they're doing. The traps are out there, but I can't have them just like plucking off a chicken every day either. So I really want to redo the run. I have big plans to redo the coop. And again, Papa Jim's like, oh gosh, this woman, because I keep redoing things. But that's part of the thing of it doesn't matter if you live on a homestead or not. That's just part of the thing. When you do something and it works, that's great. And it's working, but there are things I need to change. I'm seeing some shortcomings in some areas. Some things are working, some things don't. Some things I need to change. I love that in my summer kitchen, I have a window on a pulley system, and I can just open the window and reach in and get eggs right out of the nesting box. So that's where I collect my eggs. But my girls have a penchant for not just laying in those two nesting boxes. They want to lay in the other nesting boxes, which means I have to walk around, and sometimes it's muddy, and I have to go into the coop. And heaven forbid if somebody pooped on a nesting rail or something, and I'm only 5'2", and in order to have those nesting boxes lined up with the window just right, it's a little high for me. So I'm on my tippy toes and reaching over and trying to get eggs. And sometimes I put my arm in something I don't want to, if it's muddy or if somebody decided to sleep up there. So my nesting boxes are not easy for me to clean. They're not easy for me to get the eggs out from the inside the coop. So I'm going to be relocating it. And I'm going to have it where I have external access, where I'll just be able to flip open a door, scoop everything out that will then go into the compost pile, redo their boxes, and everybody will be happy. Wow, brain fart. My brain just went. Oh, and then what I can do is then from that window, the pulley system window, is if it's really, really stormy and nobody wants to come out of the chicken coop, I can still open that window. And from inside the kitchen, I can just give them a little bit of feed and keep everybody happy in the chicken coop and just feed them right there. I'll put a little system where I can have an indoor feeding chute. And that way I can just feed them from inside there, because sometimes we get a lot of snow drifts out there and Papa Jim has to shovel out the snow drifts just to get to them so that we can feed them. But I'm rethinking things now. move the nesting boxes. They're not going to lay a lot in the winter anyways. I don't use supplemental lighting, and I do give them that break. I don't encourage them. I just let them have the winter off. It's okay. And then I will be able to feed them as well. Wolf spiders on ceiling. There would be a new hole in my house, just saying. Hello, CB, Hugo Homestead. Welcome. Look at this. I'm not ending my live and you're showing up. Wolf spiders are great for the garden. Yeah, that's everybody gets relocated outside. They go either out to the walnut tree or to the garden. I've got beautiful barn spiders and orb spiders out there in the garden, and I just say hello and I stay away from them. I've really learned to not freak out so much over the bees. I used to be, if I get stung, I have asthma, and getting stung by a bee, it hurts. It throws me into a little bit of a little shocky system there. And so I used to be very petrified of bees, but since I've started the garden and I'm doing more things in the garden, I give them their space. I respect them. Um, I just do my best to just let them kind of do their thing. Don't wear perfume out into the garden. And usually they're just more interested in the flowers. And I just let them, if they're in a particular place, I leave them alone and I go work over here. What scares me though is when we get the big bumblebees and they sting you. They're pollinators, but they can sting you more than once, like wasps do. They'll sting you repeatedly. And sometimes I'll go out there in a sundress and I'm working in the garden in a sundress, and then they'll fly up the skirt. That's when I panic. Everybody has a job here and a purpose. Absolutely. Absolutely. So that's what's going on here. I'm rethinking, not only am I rethinking the chicken coop and the chicken run, and poor Papa Jim, we just did the chicken run last year. And he says, well, why don't we just like leave that run up and do something different? And it's like, well, because it's going to cost us money. So we're going to use the elements of that run. We're going to bring it in a little bit, put a roof on it. I got some special things I'm doing, watering systems, feeding systems, treat systems, predator proof systems, all these fun things. Because I love for my chickens to just run out in the orchard. I really, really do. But I feel bad. Sometimes I'm a bad chicken mama because I let them run. I let them have their freedom. And then a skunk gets them, or a raccoon gets them, or a hawk gets them. And I feel guilty. And I love seeing them in the front yard. I love that they come up on the deck and they walk by the door and they act like they're going to come inside. I have a video that's coming out, I think it's Tuesday, where I'm showing you how to calibrate the pH meter if you're going to do any type of aquaponics. And I've got chickens in the background photo bombing while I'm doing that video and stuff. And I love it. But I was being really hit hard right now with that bird cough, cough, sneeze, sneeze. And I don't want anybody driving by my farm and then reporting that we've got chickens on the loose. Because I don't want anybody showing up saying that they need to check our chickens and possibly losing my entire flock, because it happens. So I'm just going to hunker them down a little bit. And unfortunately, every weekend, it's been so cold and rainy or windy that we haven't been able to get out there to work on it. But hopefully this weekend we'll be able to get started. I need to remain calm with mine. My chickens love to, with mice. You need to remain calm with mice. Okay. My chickens love to eat them, and I'm not calm around that. I have to walk away. Nature doing its job. Absolutely. Yeah. I hear you on that one. I can't do it. I can't do it. Anytime I see anybody in the chicken yard, it's like, oh man, that's at your own peril, little friend. You do not need to be running through their chicken yard right now, because somebody's going to snatch you up and get you. I brought Coco in and put her on my robot vacuum. I saw that. That was so much fun. I think that's funny. I want to set up some fun things for them. They have a swing out there in their chicken yard right now, but I can't talk anybody into actually enjoying the swing. So I'll be putting together something else. I'll tell you one thing I want to do. Do I let this out of the bag? When I go to the thrift store next, I'm going to look for a rather large, beautiful, ornate picture frame. And when I do this new run, the way I want to do it, that'll have a roof on it and everything, I want to hang just the picture frame in the coop so that they can jump up on it and use it as a swing and actually be in the chicken frame. That's one thing that I'm going to do out there. But I told Papa Jim, right now we're filling up the water. We change out their water and fill up their water. And I said, hey, we've got a rain gutter right there. and we need to do a water catchment system right there that will gravity feed for the water, and that way the waters are taken care of. And we've got a window right there where during the winter we run a hose up from the basement and we fill everything with the warm water there because everything's frozen. We've got our heaters. So we really need to really work on that corner. We need to get some really good automatic feeders. I've got a surprise coming up for the chickens with their scratch, all kinds of fun stuff. And when Papa Jim was cleaning out his workshop, he found some windows. And I said, that chicken coop's a little dark. I think we're going to cut some holes in the side, put some windows in, and of course we'll put hardware cloth up to keep the predators out. But we did build a little turkey run last year. And then again, like I said, I felt so guilty kind of keeping everybody penned up that we're not utilizing. I said, that's going to be our new broody and chicken hospital area. And we'll also put our feed in there and we'll make sure that that's all secure and get it out of my summer kitchen during the summer. You tried to swing, nobody wanted to get on. I know. I bought the swing just for the chickens, but they didn't want to get on it. But the turkey loves it. He doesn't get on it and sit on it, but he loves it when I go put treats on the swing, on the seat there of the swing, because the chickens can't reach it. They'd have to hop up there to get it, but he can just walk over and he can peck at whatever I put on there and he eats it and he loves that just as much. So, but I'm going to be relocating that swing. I have a really old swing set out in one of the outbuildings here, and I think it has an old sturdy platform swing, and I think I might incorporate that in there somewhere and see if maybe the girls would like that a little better than the one I've got. Might be a little bit flimsy, but when I find my weirdos, I hang on tight, and that's why you're here, Kelly. We are weirdos of a feather. We flock together. So I don't know. There's going to be some changes coming up on the farm over the next few months. And I also want to have everything really, really secure for when we take our trip, because we're doing our cupcake stuffing. We're stuffing that muffin every Saturday morning so that we can save up to go on our trip. And I was sharing with my brother the locations because he tunes in and he watches every once in a while. He says, you might want to put that one trip that you've got on the wheel there on hold for a while. And I was thinking, it's fine. Because one of the locations we're considering as we spin that wheel, I don't know if you've seen it or not. We spin a wheel on Saturdays and we spin for money to stuff into a piñata. And then we also spin for where we're going to go on a vacation. And we just picked 5 random things that were on our bucket list. And I wanted Papa Jim to go on an Amtrak trip with me because I've been on an Amtrak. Papa Jim has not. And so I thought, well, we've never been to Chicago. So let's take an Amtrak train to Chicago. And, right there at Union Station, find a hotel right there and just do a couple little touristy things, get back on the train and come home. And my brother's like, I don't know if you want to go to Chicago right now. I was like, yeah, but we're not going to go to the downtown, or we're not going to go to the suburb areas. We're just going to kind of stay touristy. And he says, well, I don't think their trains are very safe. And I said, well, we're not taking the L. We're not taking the trains, so to speak. Of course, I don't know. I might have things planned where I might have to jump on an L. I said, we're just going to take Amtrak. And I think Amtrak's pretty safe. And so we're just going to go do all these things. So in my mind, I'm like, oh, yeah, we're going to do this. We're fine. I know Chicago is terrifying. Avoid it at all costs. See, you're sounding like my kids. I told my son's like, oh, hell no, you are not going to Chicago. It's like, I'm going to the touristy part. So this week, my sister and her husband, they flew to New York because for her birthday, she got to go see AHA in concert. And I don't know if it was last night or the night before, but he took her to New York City to see AHA in concert, which I would love to do. I think that would be a lot of fun. One of the things on my bucket list has always been, and of course this years ago, not in current circumstances, but I've always wanted to be in Times Square when the ball falls on New Year's Eve and all the people and all the celebration and the energy. I've always wanted to do that. Well, my sister gets to go to New York. She posts pictures on Facebook. Here we are on the subway. We've survived. If we go missing, and she's kind of joking. And she puts video up of, riding on the subway. And I was like, gosh, I thought there'd be more people. She goes, there's hardly any people. It's actually kind of quiet, and all of us are like, well, be safe, be safe. And she reported back when she'd made it back safe to her hotel and everything. Well, the next morning, She posts, okay, everybody, we were not on the subway during what happened. If you saw what happened yesterday, melee, chaos, horror on the subway. And it's like, you were just on those subways. What are you thinking? She's like, we're fine, we're fine, we're fine. She goes, and we're fine from the explosion. And I'm like, what? Because we don't have news. We just get what we get on YouTube. She goes, yeah, I guess there was an explosion and manhole covers were flying. She goes, we felt it in our hotel and we kind of heard it, but we didn't know what it was. It's like there's an explosion with flying manhole covers. There's this terrible chaos on the subway. It's like, it's a good thing I'm not your mother because I'd be having a coronary right now, but I don't know when she's coming home, but I'll be glad when she gets home. I drive to New York State all the time. It really depends on where you're going. Same with New York City, lived 8 hours away my whole life, but will never visit. We have driven through while on the way to Arkansas from New York. Nope, never again. I was born and raised in New York. It's the second worst state in the US. You know, I don't know. We had it. Here's the thing, Kelly. I've got it on my list to do certain things, right? And do I want to go to New York right now? No. Did I back in the day when I wanted to have that experience of uh Times Square and stuff? I'd love to go to Central Park. But right now, not so much. But would I love to take an Amtrak trip? Would I like to hop on an Amtrak and switch trains in Chicago and take the train to Washington, D.C., and then up into New York, and then down over to Pennsylvania, and then maybe back to Chicago, and then back to our train station local? Yeah, I'd like to do that. I don't know that I want to in this day and age. I'd love to be in Washington, D.C. when the cherry trees are all blooming. I want to do that. That's kind of on my bucket list. I want to do leaf peeping on the East Coast. Papa Jim really wants to go to Philadelphia and he wants to go to Boston. And these are things that are just kind of on our bucket list. And I think what we'll have to do is we'll just have to gauge how things are in the economy, and B, just in those local areas and stuff when we decide what we're going to do. So right now in our little spinning wheel, Chicago has come up a couple times. If it gets enough votes where it wins, we're really going to have to do some soul searching and decide, do we switch it up on you guys and we pick the second location for our safety's sake, or do we go it? Do we do it? Do we get on a train and go to Chicago and just stay where it's really, touristy and not go out where we're not supposed to go? I did DC as a child, best vacation. Seriously, one of my biggest memories. See, that's something I want to do. But a lot of people right now are like, I would not go to Washington, DC if you paid me. It all depends on the climate of what's going on socially right now. There's good places in the States. I'd take a U-Haul for antique shopping. Fun. Always wanted to do the train across the country. Hello, Jennifer. Welcome in. Erringer rhymes with danger. Erringer. Erringer. Anger. Is it just anger rhymes with danger? I'm going to do my best, but I will muck it up. I promise you, Jennifer. But welcome in. Welcome in. And Grace and Fire, she does. She goes to DC a lot and she loves it there. And that's just one of my things. I want to go during the cherry trees. I just think it would be lovely to just walk along their little ponds and waterways where we got all of those beautiful trees from Japan. And I just want to see all of the beautiful cherry trees. I think that was lovely. I'd love to see, the Lincoln Memorial and the big monuments, and I just want to take a weekend trip. I want to take a weekend trip and just spend some time in DC, but stay out of the sketchy areas. I really, really do. It rhymes. Okay, I'm trying. Lord, I took a hit under a certain admin when I was invited to the White House. People told me not to go. I did, had a blast. That is so neat, Glenda. One of these days I'll do it. For this first trip that we've planned, it's within a certain radius from home base here. So, I mean, we've got trips on our bucket list. Like, I really, really want to take the train to the West Coast and jump on a cruise ship and cruise up to Alaska and, all these things. We were going to do a cruise to Alaska for our 25th wedding anniversary. Had it all planned out. I had all of my excursions all planned out. And then at the last minute, hubby said, "Why don't we go to Jamaica?" And I was like, "Okay." So we switched it all up and we went to Jamaica. So I still have not had my Alaskan cruise. So that's on the bucket list. But I think it would be really neat if we saved up enough money and we had enough time and we had somebody take care of the animals that we could take the train to Seattle, because that's all through like national park and everything, up through Montana and everything. Um, Take that train, get off the train and go right to the ship and take a week-long cruise up into Alaska and back and then fly home. By then, I don't think I'm going to want to get on a train to come back. Time to fill our cistern. Glad I caught you this morning. Thank you, Kelly. Great chatting with you all. God bless. Have a wonderful Wednesday. You too, Kelly. Drive safely and enjoy getting your water. So, but that's what we're doing. We're doing a small trip to start with. Our 5 locations, if you've not caught them before, are um, Mount Rushmore, because Papa Jim has never been and he wants to see Mount Rushmore. Branson, Missouri, just because it sounds like fun. Nashville, Tennessee. My very best friend since I was 8 years old has moved down into that area. And so we've never been to Nashville, Tennessee, so we chose that area. Mackinac Island, which would be a fun place to go to because neither of us have ever seen any of the Great Lakes. And then Chicago by train. We would not be driving. That was one thing my brother said. He says, "You don't want to drive to Chicago." We're not. We'd be on a train. Go. It's fun. Just stay away from protests. They're there all the time, no matter when you go, but don't let it deter you. We'll go. We'll go. We'll eventually go. That's another thing too, is I'm just hoping I'll be here long enough to get some of these things off my bucket list. So they're on the list. We have a folder. We don't. It's not a folder. It's a binder. With all we just wrote. We just sat down one day and we just wrote. Where would you want to go? What would you want to do? What would you want to see? Um, I've been to San Antonio and I got to ride in the boats on the canal when I think I was only 10. Did that with my parents. I still have memories of it. We went to the Alamo. We went to the place where the Alamo was filmed with John Wayne. So we went to both Alamos, and Papa Jim's never done that. So I said, I think it would be really great for us to go down to San Antonio, see the Alamo, and then you get to go on the little river cruise up and down the river in San Antonio there. We want to do that. Um, we want to take a winter trip and maybe just go stay at a lodge up in like in Aspen or something in Colorado and just enjoy that. Yes, we get plenty of snow here and we can light a fire, but just things we want to do. Um, there is, and I know I've shared it with you guys before, there is a B&B in Idaho, and it's called the Dog Bark. I don't know. It's a 2-story building in the shape of a beagle dog, and you actually sleep inside the beagle dog, and it's all dog themed, like they have dog themed Monopoly and dog themed books, and it's just a dog, and it's random. And I just want to go to Idaho, and I've got family I've never met before there, because some of you may know that I met my biological father in 2010. And so I've got cousins I've never met, and some of them live in Idaho. And I thought, I just want to go sleep inside a dog and meet my cousin. San Antonio is wonderful. A friend of mine was a manager at one of the restaurants on the river. The food was good. Yeah, I want to go back. I remember doing that with my parents. I'm thankful my parents gave me that memory, but I don't remember enough of it. I just have little blips that I remember of being on the river. So I'd like to experience that with Papa Jim. There are places I want to go, things we want to do. But right now, this last Saturday, when we spun the wheel of doom and we stuffed money into our muffin, um, we got Nashville, Tennessee again. So I think it might be ahead. I really think it's a really strong tie between Nashville, Tennessee and Mount Rushmore. I think those are the top 2, maybe with Chicago bringing up the rear. But every time we spin and we put something in the cupcake, I do some research in that area and I try to find things for us to do. So I'm finding a lot of neat, fun things to do if we end up, whether it's in South Dakota or down in Tennessee or even up in Mackinac Island in Michigan. I'm finding all kinds of fun things, finding fun places to stay, unique places. My brother the other day, he called when he was telling me I did not need to go to Chicago. Hubby is listening in to you, and I'm glad you mentioned the place in Idaho. That sounds like fun. Wouldn't that be fun? Wouldn't it be fun to just say that you slept in a big 2-story Beagle? I mean, it's just so random. If they had a chicken hotel like that, I would sleep inside of a chicken as well. I need to look. I need to look to see if they have a B and B that is a big giant chicken, because I would do that. But I'm looking, I don't think Papa is listening in on this, but there's a place, Grace and Fire. Glenda, there is a place up by Mackinac Island where you sleep in yurts. I want to sleep in a yurt. I don't I'm not above a little bit of glamping. I'll stay in a yurt and then go over to Mackinac Island for a day. And then when we're done with Mackinac, I don't know if I want to stay the night on Mackinac Island. Cannot afford to stay in that big fancy hotel, let me tell you. But there are other little bed and breakfast places there. But there's also another place up there where it's a winery, and I just want to stay at the winery for a couple of days. So I'm finding all of these unique little places. I found a place down in Tennessee where it's just one room. It's a one-room Airbnb up in the tree line. And when you sit up in bed, you're overlooking the Cumberland River. And how neat, how neat. I want to do those fun things. A yurt, that would be fun. If you like country music, Opryland needs to be a place you visit. Absolutely. So I'm looking up all of these neat little things to do on all of these different little locations. And I'm even adding little stops along the way so that we can maybe hit a couple of bucket list items in one go. But I was talking about where we'll be staying, and my brother, when he was telling me, he goes, "Oh, well, when you guys go here, if you go to Mount Rushmore, you need to stop off at this little town, and you need to stop off at that little town." And he goes, "There's a really neat rock museum." Well, I'm not into rocks. That's my brother's thing, right? And I was like, "Well, if we go that direction for our trip, I've already got a couple things plotted and planned. And one of them is I want to go to DeSmet, South Dakota, which is where the Ingalls family lived after they left Walnut Grove. And that's where Ma and Pa Ingalls are buried. And there's a bank that was right across the street from where Pa Ingalls had his store. It's where he most likely did his banking. And it's been converted into an Airbnb. I want to go sleep in the bank. I want to sleep in unique places. Ooh, that makes me think of a story. Now, see, I can't just tell the story. I got to go to the thrift store. And when I see something that reminds me of that story, then I need to film it or buy it and then tell you about the story. But we had so much fun at this one place that we stayed. I love little fun places to stay too, Glenda. Anybody can stay at a Days Inn or a Red Roof Inn, right? You got to find the unique fun places, that the out of the way hole in a wall. Those are some of our best memories. Some of our best memories are when we would just jump in the car and go somewhere and completely unplanned. And of course, we don't have reservations to stay in a hotel, and all the hotels are booked. But there's these little hole in the wall places that have vacancies. And I mean, they're run down and they're old, but they have character. And the people who run them always have stories to share. And they're just really unique individuals. I don't think I've ever had a bad experience doing that. Just staying at random weird places. I don't think I had a really weird experience staying at a Hampton Inn one time. It was so random and weird. I'm not a complainer, but I had to say something. And we were traveling with my other brother and all the kids. We were going up to Wisconsin to go rafting on the Green River. No, not the Green River, Apple River. And I had to say something. And so they refunded his entire stay because it was pretty strange and bad and stuff I can't say here on this channel. Speaking of this channel, by the way, guys, I do want to say I've not said much of anything about it. And I've had a couple friends. Casey from Ormsby Farm called me out on it the other day. He's like, "Girl, did you know this?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I know this." He goes, "Why aren't you saying anything? You got to shout it from the rooftops." I want to remain humble. I want to remain humble. Now, you guys know when I reached my 1,000 subscribers, I came on live when I was at I think 995. It's like, I'm staying live until we hit 1,000. And I was hooping and hollering and spinning around in my chair and having so much fun. And we hit 1,000, and it was like, oh my gosh, I finally did it. I made it to 1,000. Something happened. I don't know what happened. I've got a couple friends who have their theories what happened. I don't know what happened, but things have just exploded. Now my watch hours are not exploding. Views on my videos are still relatively low, but it's like all of a sudden I was at 1100, and then all of a sudden I was at 1200, and I don't even know that it's been a month since I hit 1000. And then a couple days, 3 days, a week later, I was at 1300. Well, Saturday, Papa Jim and I were out. We went to the Amish markets. I'll be doing a video on that. We went to the Amish markets to stock up on spices and herbs for the year. And we stopped off at this little place to go to lunch, and I was at 1498. And I said, I think after lunch, we're going to come back out and I'm going to be at 1500. Sure enough, we came out from lunch and it was 1500. That was on Saturday. Monday. Was it Monday? Or was it yesterday morning? Yesterday morning. Yesterday morning, I woke up 1600 in 2 days. I made it to 60. I don't know what's happening. 1600. And now, I mean, that was yesterday. I just hit 1600. Let me check officially. I know Glenda's got a number there, but let me give you the exact number according to this app. It's, and the thing is that, you know, my friends are like, you need to shout this from the rooftops. And I want to remain humble. I want to remain humble. 1648. 1648. I don't know what's happening. I know I'm shouting it out now. I'm putting it out there now. I actually wrote Lisa yesterday, I think, and I said, can I share something with you? And she said, yeah. I said, I don't want it to sound like I'm bragging. I don't want to be a braggart. I don't want that. But I'm amazed. I'm amazed that it just keeps growing. So, I got a birthday coming up in a couple weeks. My goal is to maybe hit 2000 by my birthday. Wouldn't that be fun? But anyways, coming up, there will be, I think we're going to do a live where maybe we'll have a couple of giveaways, because I didn't do a giveaway yet for my 1000 subscribers. So, and I still owe Glenda a pattern from a giveaway that I need to email to her. I need to get that out to her. And I also need to send one out to Joy Blessed Life. But I did receive a gift that was donated by Suburban Homesteading, Arizona, Wyoming. And so that will be given away in that giveaway. Just have to get it put together and get it scheduled. I'm going to shout and dance with you. Yay. And I don't hear anything negative. This is awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I don't know. I just didn't want it to be like I was bragging. Simple fun places. I have a place in the country that's a pretty English garden restaurant. It is literally a long drive out, but it is a favorite place. I love places like that. Well, hello, Glenda. Or not Glenda, Gwen. You girl names with the G's. Good morning, Gwen. So there used to be a place when we lived in Southern California, Glenda, and it was probably an hour drive up into the mountains, mile high, beautiful little town that we used to go visit. And there was just this little bakery / sandwich place. And they had a deck outside and they made the most delicious mint tea. And we used to go up there every once in a while. We're like, you just want to go up to town today? It's like, yeah, we would drive up those roads that make me so sick, but we'd have the most beautiful, we would get, this is before I became vegetarian, but we'd have a beautiful tuna salad and the mint iced tea and the squirrels and the woodpeckers and the big, beautiful pine trees. Just loved doing that. Those G names. So I love finding places like that. I haven't found, I'm sure they're here, but I haven't found many places where I live now that I'm like, oh, let's go there and spend the day because it's so wonderful. Yeah, there's a joke there somewhere. Let's leave it at that. But what I was saying is when we go on this trip, I'm going to throw extra little things in it. So one of the things is if we end up going to, Mount Rushmore, I want to sidestep a little bit and go to Sioux Falls, South Dakota. I think they've got beautiful little falls there. It looks like a nice little town. And when I said this, I was talking to my brother, he's like, "Mm." I was like, well, I don't care. It's not your trip. I want to go. Well, that's what I was going to say. He was telling me, we need to go to this one little town where they've got some things. And he says, I might go with you. And I'm like, no, why are you going to go with us? I mean, I know there's things you want to see, and I love when family travels together. But that's when I told him, I said, well, I'm planning on going to the bank and sleeping in the bank at the Airbnb. And then I said, we found this one place where we're planning on sleeping in a covered wagon, and only 2 people fit in that covered wagon. I'm working on things like that. My place makes the best lemon verbena lemonade. That sounds so good. Gwen says we have a favorite little steakhouse like that 45 minutes away in an old general store with ice cream parlor and a gift shop next door. How fun. That does make me think, Gwen, there is a little place that we do like to go from time to time. And it has, I think it's the state's longest marble ice cream counter. So like really authentic from like back in the 20s, 30s, and 40s, where you would go to the ice cream counter and order, your ice cream sodas and ice cream scoops. And it's got this big, long marble bar, and all of the bar stools are still there. And they have little booths to sit in to have lunch. And the booths are still old and authentic. And there's mirrors that are, that are chipped and cracked, and they're old. It's really old. It's in a really old building. My mother used to love to go there. And so Papa Jim and I will go there every once in a while and have lunch. And it's just really neat because it's authentic and it's old. And they serve root beer in the frosted mugs, which now I don't know if they have diet root beer. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get those because I can't have so much sugar now. But I mean, I do love little places like that. So I want to find more places like that. Just like when we went to the kite festival, we were given some suggestions of places to dine when we went up to the kite festival. And some of them were franchises. Some of them were kind of on the sports bar end of things, which I'm not knocking that, but I wanted something that was a little bit unique. And so we ended up going to that little place that, they do all of their baking right there, and they had a little gift shop, and we got to meet the owner, and she gave us a little tour and told us about how the whole building was renovated and what was still original. And I love stories like that. And so when we go to these little places on these little trips and stuff, I want to find little places like that and highlight them in my videos, and not stop off at this random place or that random place. That you can go to at any time. Like I said, anybody can stay at a Days Inn or a Red Roof Inn, or I want to stay at the neat places. I want to eat lunches and dinners at the unique, neat places. And so that's kind of some of the things we're going to do if we head that direction. If we head down to Tennessee, I think I might want to stop at St. Louis and maybe spend one night at St. Louis and go up inside the arch, which I've never done. I've seen the arch on travels when I was a child, but we never stopped in St. Louis. And I know that's another dicey little town, but I'm thinking if we just stay downtown, maybe it won't be too bad. But I believe Ulysses S. Grant had a home there, and that they have quite a unique setup for his estate. I'd like to see that. So maybe we'll stop and do that on our way down to Nashville, Tennessee. I have family that lives just right over the border in Arkansas that I've not seen in forever. I'd love to just kind of like put that into the little trip too. So we'll be doing all these neat little things. Tennessee is a great place, and I've been in the Arch a few times. Really neat. There's a place in Galveston. Ice cream, soda fountain, and handmade candy. You can watch them make taffy. Yum. That sounds wonderful. Did you have a bet on the Grand National? No. Nope, nope. Nothing going there, guys. I know you liked that horse race, and I didn't catch it, didn't see it, don't know much about it. Let's see what else. Oh, Papa Jim and I we actually lived and were married in Hot Springs, Arkansas. I'd like to travel down there again and get some of that. The estate is great, and the Budweiser horses are there. See, all these fun things I want to do. True story, Glenda. And see, it's a story I should tell. It's a story I should say, but I'm going to share a little bit of it here. When I was a little girl, I would come spend summers in Iowa at my grandpa's place. He lived in Sioux City, Iowa. And for the majority of his working life, he worked at the Sioux City stockyards. And one summer when I was visiting, the Budweiser Clydesdales were in town and they were staying at the stockyards. And so we went down to the stockyards. My grandpa took me down there and I got to have one-on-one time with those Clydesdales, and the handlers hoisted me up and I actually got to sit on top of one of the Clydesdales and just, lean forward and lean into the mane and wrap my arms around those big, massive necks and just take it all in. It was so wonderful to say that I actually got to have an up close and personal experience with those big, beautiful draft horses. Beautiful. I loved it. It's still one of my big favorite memories of coming back here in the summer times and spending time with my grandpa, to know that he took me down there and we got to do that. It was so wonderful. So wonderful. Um, and we've seen them since then. When we would go down, there was a place down there in Southern California at Anheuser-Busch Gardens, and you could see them, in their paddocks or in their pastures and stuff. But I never again had an up close experience like that. So wonderful. What a beautiful memory, and what a gorgeous, and they are gorgeous horses. At the estate, you can ride a camel. I did that. I've been to places where you can ride camels, but I've never ridden a camel. Um, and I am kind of I'm battling with a few things right now because I am in that stage of my own personal space of like I could go somewhere and ride an elephant, but do I really want to participate in riding on an elephant when I'd rather see that elephant in a sanctuary somewhere? Do I really want to ride on a camel, even though they probably like it, but do I want to do that to a camel? I'm really struggling because if we go to Mackinac Island, the main bit of transportation are the horses and the carriages. And I'd like to do that, but I don't want to do that. I've got a little bit of conflict going on inside. But, that was always one of the things is like if we ever ended up in New York for a visit and they have the horses and carriages at Central Park, I probably won't participate in that because I know not everybody takes care of their animals in a way that I would agree with. So it's kind of something that I've been dealing with. And one of the things that every time Mackinac Island comes up, I'm like, I really want to do that, but I don't know if I do. One of those things. Just like when we lived in Southern California, we used to take our kids to a certain marine place all the time. And they enjoyed it. We enjoyed it. And then I got to the point where it's like, I don't know if that I want to do that anymore. I'd learned some things, I'd heard some things, I'd seen some things. It's like, I don't think I want to do that anymore. So I'm kind of in the same way. Every once in a while, my brother will say, hey, let's gather up the kids and let's all go to the zoo. I'm like, I don't know that I want to do that. I really don't want to. I just don't want to do that. I have a really hard time sometimes being on the other side of the glass. And it ruins my day. It's just one of those things. We have a 30-plus-year-old mule now. That is so neat, Gwen. I just love that. Years ago, an old neighbor had a solid black Percheron. I fell in love with draft horses. That horse lived well into his 30s. That is so neat. So neat. That was one thing, again, I kind of struggle with sometimes. But what I saw Saturday, kind of negates a little bit of sometimes how I feel about things. But when we went shopping on Saturday and we went to the local Amish markets, so many beautiful draft horses. But and we took some of the back roads. We don't stay on the main roads, but we took some of the back roads. And, all those horses looked really well cared for. The farms were clean, where they were clean, everything looked clean. We saw several of the horses with their buggies, everything looked clean. The kids with their little ponies running around, everything looked well taken care of. So I know sometimes that's hit and miss, but I think this little community where we're at, everything is pretty well taken care of. He's a troublemaker, your mule. Aren't they all in one form or fashion? We've got our little miniature donkey, and gosh, he's going to be 8 this year. CJ, and he's just kind of a grumpy. He always has a grumpy look. He looks like the grumpy cat. And I realize I think it's because he's got a little bit of pigeon mouth going on there. I think he's got just a tiniest little birth defect when he was born that kind of just gives him that little bit of an overbite. So, but it hasn't affected him. He eats well. But I think now when I look at him, I realize because his brother, he had a half brother that we had. He always had the sweetest little smile on his face. Little AJ always smiled, but this one's always grumpy. And it's so funny that they have different mothers, but the same father and looks so different. But I think it's because he's just got just a tiny little bit of a birth defect with his mouth. So, well, guys, we are at about an hour and a half. I need to, I spent, I did get my craft room all cleaned up, but I've got work to do. My neighbor has a horse that she wishes would be calm, but she mentioned that the Amish could break him and she won't put him through that process. Yeah. Yeah. I will say though, everything that we saw, we've been to this community more than once. We go there quite often. I know some of the individuals by name, and they know me when I come into the store. And what I've seen so far, I've not seen anything that causes any alarm. Of course, you only see what you're allowed to see. I know that there are other elements that I'm not privy to, but from what I've seen, I haven't seen anything that makes me says I won't be supporting that community anymore. So our Fanoonis, Blue, it's our Fanoonis. Are you saying good afternoon? Serious troublemaker. Wish he had never brought him home, but he has been here for 30 years. I tell you, we had that one donkey. I just loved her. And she lived her final days here. And I was so sad when she passed away. And I called the vet and I was crying. And his dad was our farrier and he had taken care of her. He'd cleaned her feet up and they floated her teeth and everything before she came out to the farm. And gave her as much care and attention as they could before she was brought here. She had been abandoned. And she was actually a Bureau of Land Management donkey that had been brought out from the Grand Canyon. Oh, I just loved her. She was so sweet. Beautiful, beautiful countenance. Skin and bones. We were doing our best to, get some meat on her. And we would go down every day and brush her out. She was just full of burrs. And just the sweetest little thing. And when she passed away, and I was just in tears, the farrier said, I don't think you realize, because I told him, I said, I failed her. Because no, you didn't. You gave her love every day of her life while she was with you, even though it was for a short time. He says, I don't think you realize that donkey was well over 40, 50 years old. He says that donkey was around when LBJ was in the White House. So don't you worry about failing that donkey. You didn't. She was just old. One of the oldest donkeys I'd ever seen. He goes, so she lived a good long life. And even though somebody failed her, you took her in and you loved her. And so don't ever think that. But oh, I wish you would have lived longer. I had so many plans for just spoiling her and loving her and putting her in a floppy hat and letting her sit outside underneath the walnut tree and feeding her apples. Oh my goodness. This horse isn't bad. He's a lover, just a bit crazy at times. I don't blame her. I know how they tame the horses. Yeah, you pick and choose what you're willing to live with and what you're not. And it's kind of like when we had our little miniature pony here, and she had been severely neglected before we brought her here. My sister says, oh, now you can get her a little cart and, you guys can get a little pony cart and you can take her on runs and stuff. Like, nope. I don't care if she was trained to be a pony cart or a cart pony. No, my animals here will not be beasts of burden. So I can honestly say that any horse that's ever been on this property, they've never had a bit in their mouth. They've never been harnessed to a cart. The only time they've even ever had any type of a harness on is just when they were getting their work done with the farrier. and then they come right off. We'll put something on them and use the lead rope and get them tied off to have their feet worked on, and then they just come right back out of it. They're little halters. They are not beasts of burdens here. They were in their prior lives, but when they come here, they're not. And it's kind of like when we rescue our potbelly pigs. They came from environments where they lived in the house, but pigs aren't meant to live in the house. Even potbelly pigs, they're meant to be pigs. So my piggies, they go outside and they live in the coop with the coop kids. And that was one thing that I really had a hard time with when we put our chicken run up, because Picklesworth lives with the chickens. And he would come out in the morning and he goes and he lays underneath his favorite apple tree. And when we had some concerns about predators last year and we put that new run up, he would just stand at the fence and he would look at his apple tree, and it just broke my heart. So I took part of it down so they've got free reign again. But now we've got another predator issue. So I'm going to have to come up with a different way to house him where he still is a coop kid and has all of his friends and he can still get to his apple tree, and that the chickens are still protected. I mean, it's a wonderful thing having everybody live together, but it requires extra work. And I just have to figure out the right way to make it work for Pigglesworth. He's going to be 8 this year. Actually, he's already 8 years old. And I don't know how much longer we'll have with him, but I don't want to throw too many kinks into his tail. I want him to be happy. I want him to go sleep underneath his apple tree and just enjoy his life while we've still got him. He's our last little piggy. And when he's gone, I won't be getting any more piggies, even though somebody tried to talk me into a piggy this week. You and my neighbor would get along. They even have their disabled pet turkey. Yes. A local man has 2 teams of giant mules, one dark color and one white team, or one dark team, one white team. Sometimes he hooks up his old Western wagon and goes down a side road. Oh, well, don't get me started on that one, Major. They can live to be old, old, old. Yes, they can. Yes, they can. I have a neighbor that lives in our area here. And I remember when we first moved here, we were renting a little house in a tiny little town before we found this farm. And I was sitting in the window in the living room one day and I was enjoying a cup of coffee, and it had snowed. And I hear this jingle jangle, clip clop. And I look out just in time to see a big, big mammoth mule pulling an Amish cart. I was like, oh, it's so wonderful. It's so neat. I love where I've moved to. And then I found out who that gentleman was. He's my neighbor now. And he has, 2 mammoths and 1 standard. And he runs them all the time in his little Amish cart. He's all the time, all around the place. He stops in every once in a while to say hello. And he just pulls in with this big mammoth mule. And one of these days I'll have to pull up a picture and show you just how huge this mule is. But he loves his mules. He takes wonderful care of them, and they're spoiled. And I think they actually really love what they do. I've seen where he'll open up their lower pasture and they just run right over to the hitching post with glee and cannot wait to be hooked up to that wagon. And they go off on their little runs. And he takes them like to the senior communities and everything, over to the nursing homes, and so that people can come out and see them and everything. I can't let my chickens out. We have way too many predators that will eat them. I would love to be able to let them out, but no, I know it's something that I'm really struggling with too, Gwen. Hairball. It's actually my asthma. I was really sad to lose a chicken last week to that skunk. Some animals need a task, and then off duty, it's important to be spoiled. Yes. And they just seem to really love this. So, and he loves it, and it gives him something to do. And it's just wonderful. And I've been saying it for 8 years, but I've never done it. But mostly because once we got settled and everything, and then I got sick, and now his health isn't all that wonderful. But I've threatened many times, like, one of these days, I'm going to stop you while you're running around in your Amish buggy, and I'm going to hitch a ride. I want you to take me around for a ride in your Amish buggy. One of these days I will do that. one of these days. So anyways, guys, well, I do need to get downstairs. I need to get a load of laundry going. I need to get the dishes into the dishwasher that I didn't do yesterday because of the storms. And I might think about filming my Amish grocery haul. We did not plan on going. We were not going to go out to the Amish markets on Saturday. But with the storms that were supposed to be heading this way, I told Papa Jim, I said, I just had a really strong feeling that that was what we needed to do on that Saturday. We had other plans. And I said, cancel the other plans. I really think we need to go to the Amish market. So we did. And I loaded up on all kinds of spices and herbs and barley for my soups, all kinds of fun stuff. So I'll do a grocery haul coming up. But that's pretty much it from the farm here this week. It was fun, Grace. We had a wonderful, wonderful time. Do not procrastinate too long on that buggy ride. I know. I need to get with him and do that. Such a sweet guy. He really is a sweet guy. And he's got health issues. So I remember he's probably, let me think about this. I think he's my only neighbor that actually stopped by when I was going through chemotherapy. He stopped by and sat in the kitchen and had a cup of coffee with me. He goes, I heard you weren't feeling well, and I'm bald and in my pajamas and making him coffee. And now he's sick. So I stopped in and I checked on him the other day. And he's got some issues going on. He's been up to the Mayo Clinic and everything. He says, I'm not going to let it get to me. He says, I'm just going to come out here and I'm going to do what I do every day and act like every day's my last. So, but I need to follow up with him. You need to find an Amish market, guys. Yeah, they are the best neighbors. They really, really are. So I might stop off and check on him. And next time he drives by, maybe I'll flag him down and hop up in there, Tim. It might be a really good memory with my neighbor. If I can't make it Saturday, Jim's Wallet Day, I will catch a replay, but say hi to Mr. Jim for me, please. I certainly will. Yeah, I've got some really great neighbors here. I know that, for instance, if we were to have been hit by a tornado, I know he would have been one of the first ones over here with the skid loader and the excavator. And because he's got big equipment, he would just come over and he'd get everything all taken care of for us. So he's a fun, unreal guy, but I know he'll always have our back. There's times he'll tell me though, he goes, I need a couple chickens. You got any chickens that I can put over here at my place? And I know he was having a raccoon problem for a while. I was like, my girls are not going to your farm. I know what happens to the girls at your farm. He doesn't process them, but every once in a while a raccoon will get them. And so his numbers get down. He was like, I really need us. I will give you eggs, but you're not getting my girls. Not getting my girls. And then we've got Farmer Tom that we're running into every once in a while. And he's the one who told us about the beaver dams that are in the creek that I took my grandkids to. And Papa Jim, I was talking to Papa Jim about the other day. So I think when the weather gets nice enough and not too hot and where the bugs aren't too bad, I think Papa Jim and I are going to go down to the creek and we're going to see how far we go up the creek and see how many beaver dams we find. I almost waited too long to go visit a man. He owned the original Fantasy Island airplane. So I got to go see the plane, and he passed soon after. Oh, I'm glad you got to go do that, though. I'm glad you got to go do that. It's not very often I put things like that off. I'll tell you what it is, Tim. When we first moved here, I was really busy and I was really interested in riding in the cart. And then I got sick and then I was too weak to get up in the cart. And then after chemo, all of the steroids I was on made me so fat, I was too afraid that I wouldn't be able to get up in the cart. But now I've lost over 50 pounds with this diabetes, and maybe I'll fit in the cart now without putting too much strain on the suspension. So maybe I will stop him and take him up on the offer of someday riding in that Amish buggy, because I just think that would be so much fun. My neighbors are the reason I'm allowed to have chickens, because they live on their property. Absolutely. It's so wonderful. And that was one of the things that Papa Jim and I were talking about the other day, was finding a land buddy. If you can't have chickens, Find a friend who can. Be a land buddy. If you don't have a space for a garden, find a friend who can and use some of their space in their backyard for a garden and share the bounty. Girl, get in that cart. I'll get in that cart. Once our weather clears up, I'll probably take another trip over to see him and see how he's doing. He lives right across the street from my son. And my son said the other day, he says, I've learned a lot. I've learned a lot from that man across the street who lives as simple as any man I know. Doesn't have a lot of material goods, doesn't have a lot of money, doesn't have flashy things, lives a simple life on the farm, gets out there with his mules every day. Goes, I've learned so much from that man because I don't need a new car. I don't need a new house. I don't need all these things because I just want to live like that man across the street because I've learned a lot from that man. And it's true. It's true. He lives very, very, very simple. And the more we let go living on this farm, the happier we are. We don't have a car payment. I don't have a mortgage. I do want a freeze dryer, Papa Jim. I do want a freeze dryer. But right now, it's all about just self-sustaining and living within our means, having fun little projects to work on, like I have up here in my craft studio. Papa Jim's got his garage that he tinkers around. And I'll tell you what, I will share this. This last year, Papa Jim finally realized a dream he's had for a long, long time. And he actually has his own hoist now. So he cleared out his workshop and they poured all new footings and he purchased himself a honest to goodness hoist to lift cars and work on them because that's what he does. And I know he's thinking ahead should things go sideways, and he'll do some repair here at the farm. And we had this big storm blowing in yesterday. So he drove, let me make sure I get it right. I think he put the truck on the hoist and lifted it, drove the Buick underneath the truck, then drove my little Trailblazer in behind and then closed the garage. So our vehicles were protected from the hail. And it's like, oh my gosh, 6 months ago, we wouldn't be able to fit one in there because there's just the salad bar was in there for one. But now 3 of our vehicles were safe. We had one more vehicle. We've got the old farm truck and we just moved that away from the walnut tree in case the walnut tree came down. And so we put it where it wouldn't be a problem. Yeah, poor Mr. Jim's wallet again. I know, I heard about the layaway. It's funny because Papa Jim was like, what is this about this freeze dryer? I said, oh, let me show you. And then there's layaway and he heard about that. He's thinking. I love Shaker furniture. I am thinking simple life is the best life. Absolutely. One thing we're thinking is I have the old moonshine shed back in the back. That's what the boys call it. It's really just an old tractor shed with a lean-to. And I told Papa Jim, I said, we're going to refurbish that thing. We're going to put the old wood burning stove out there. We're going to build some old little beds out of some of the downed trees, and we're going to set up a place to cook our coffee outside. I said, we're going to make that little lean-to a little place of stepping back into yesteryear. And he says, well, what year? I said, well, I don't know, because every once in a while he catches somebody on YouTube and they're like in the 1500s and they recreate stuff. Because I don't want to do that. I said, that's fine. He goes, I want to be like Matt and Miss Kitty. I want to do like the Westerns. I want to do a Western theme time where get out the old enamel coffee pot and put it on the fire and make some coffee. And we're going to have our little potbelly stove and, untie a napkin with the biscuits in it and put a cast iron skillet on the stove and cook up some fresh eggs. That's what we're going to do. It's how you bought yours. I got no money. I made small payments within your means. Absolutely. Well, I think once the hoist is paid for, we'll be looking at getting one of those. Yeah, Papa Jim, there's a layaway program. He knows. I told him all about it when you said something. Anyone can buy a freeze dryer. It might take time, but where there's a will, there's a way. I know. He was pretty impressed when I showed up, and we're getting such an influx of eggs right now. I told him I'm out of room in the freezer. Can't freeze any more eggs. I've done all I can with the eggs. So I'm taking my cleanest eggs because when it's muddy, the girls get muddy and stuff. But I told him the other day I packaged up 3 dozen eggs and I made a little sign and a little money jar. I said, "Here, take these to work." Because I don't know that anybody wants to do that. I said, "I don't care. You take them to work." And sure enough, all 3 dozen sold. He came home that night and goes, "I need 2 more dozen for tomorrow." I said, "Okay, that pays for chicken feed right there." Well, the invite's always open there, Tiny Tim. If we make it down to Arkansas, we'll meet up as well because Papa Jim was born in Arkansas. We were married in Hot Springs, so we definitely want to be taking another trip down to Arkansas and go back to our old stomping grounds. I actually looked up our apartment, our very first apartment together. I looked it up on the Google Maps the other day. So it's like, look, there's our apartment. It's still there. So I think we'll be planning something like that too. And but yeah, welcome mat's always open. Can't guarantee things will be tidy. I mean, look at me. I'm sitting here all morning instead of doing the dishes. Might be that somebody shows up someday to say howdy and the kitchen's a mess. That's real life. Real life. All right, friends. The coffee is cold. What little bit of it is left. Dishes have to be done. Countertops have to be cleaned off so I can set up my camera so I can do our Amish haul. I'm going to upload when we get done here. I'm going to upload the Mama's Tangles and Yarn or yarns and get that ready. And you'll have to watch to see when I set it up. I don't know if I should do it as a premiere or just drop it, but I'm going to put that up and then we're going to get things going. Apart from the obvious, although obviously that's not obvious enough to me, what is a freeze dryer used for? Major. A freeze dryer is if you want to give it the a lot of people dehydrate their food and put it away, or there's freeze drying, and freeze drying actually freezes and removes the moisture from food. So, for instance, like peas, if you dehydrate peas, they have the outer shell on them that gets a little hard. This just makes beautiful freeze dried peas. You can freeze dry eggs. You can freeze dry ice cream, and they make little crumbles. All kinds of fun things. Fun things. Fun things. Real life for sure. What can't you freeze dry, Major? Probably water. But I think everything else you could pretty much freeze dry. You can freeze dry meat, eggs, vegetables, candies. You can freeze dry just about anything. Freeze dried chocolate raspberries. Yum. But I'm looking forward to the eggs. Let's see here. Who actually said it? Glenda, I have freeze-dried eggs. I'm going to make cookie and cake mixes with them, and then family just needs to add water. Genius. Genius. And I told him, I said, I showed him, I said, look at this channel here, freeze-drying eggs. I told him that because we watched one. I said, makes perfect egg powder. We just put that away. I like the idea of the cake mixes. But when he came home, he said, I need more eggs. That day I had taken like my muddy, dirty, on the back end older eggs, and they weren't that old because my girls are giving me so many eggs a day, and I gave them all to Pigglesworth. I fed them all to Pigglesworth, and he comes and goes, "I need 2 more dozens." Like, good Lord, I just gave all the eggs to the chickens and the pig. But the girls had laid enough eggs that day, and I had just a couple to pull from reserve that I had just gotten the day before, and so I sent 2 more dozen fresh eggs in. And but girls and boys, I'm telling you, I've made chaffles, I've made little egg patties. I've got all kinds of freezing going on with all those eggs and making things with the eggs. I haven't gotten back into doing the mineral oil and the water glassing yet. I just haven't gotten there yet this year. Too much mud. I want to get my nesting system really straightened away before I commit to doing that again. But these girls, they're prolific. Freeze drying Skittles next. That sounds like fun. Oil and butter you cannot freeze dry. I love making ghee. I'm just stuck on making ghee. I think for me, that's the best way to preserve butter. I make the ghee, it goes in the pantry, it lasts, it's beautiful. And I cook with it, I fry my eggs with it. There's a high smoke point on it, so your eggs don't burn. Just beautiful. I would love to see something that's been freeze-dried, such as eggs. Look it up on YouTube, Major. There are some channels that have put some freeze-drying videos out so you can see how that process works. It's really interesting. Really, really interesting. And I want to see the freeze-dried Skittles, I think. You've never had ghee. Oh, you need to try it. I've got a video up on it. I get really good butter, either the Irish Kerrygold or I get the Amish butter. When I go out to the Amish market, they didn't have any this time, but I get a good grass-fed butter and I make the ghee. So good. It's not like butter that you can just take a chunk off and put it on your toast because the milk solids have been removed. It's just the milk fat. So it's good for anybody who has any lactose intolerance issues. It's great because it's shelf stable. I make probably, I think this last time I made 6 3/4 jelly jars, and I still have some in the pantry. But like I said, I use it for baking, I use it for frying, I use it for things like that. It's shelf stable. You don't have to can it. Clarified butter. Yes, Major, clarified butter. Um, you've never had ghee. Yeah, it's clarified butter. So when you go to the fancy restaurants and they're going to offer you your steak with clarified butter, and it's so much more because it sounds fancy because it has the clarified butter, it's all it is ghee. I'll look it up on your channel. I didn't realize you had a video. Yes, and actually I make my ghee in the summer kitchen, in a turkey roaster of all things. So simple. And I find it very relaxing and cathartic because once you have your butter to the stage where you need to separate the milk solids from the oil, I do a process the way I do mine. I take my time. It's very relaxing. I find it to be it's something I really, truly, thoroughly enjoy. Now, my best friend down in Tennessee, she says, I was watching some other channels with ghee, how they make their ghee. And she says, after they do the process of separating the milk fats from the solids, they pour it through a cheesecloth. And I was like, yeah, but if you pour everything into a cheesecloth, don't you think some of those milk solids are going to come through the cheesecloth because you're squeezing the oil out of it? And then I don't think it's necessarily as shelf stable. It may be that they've done it and they're going to use it up quickly because they're just doing a pound at a time or something. But I'm doing a lot and I put it in the pantry and I don't want any milk solids in it. And it lasts me. I've never had a jar of it go bad. You are well posh having a separate kitchen for the summer. I know you just can't get past that, can you, Major? It used to be, the dogs are alerting me that someone's here. Hang on one second. I think it might be the mailman. Somebody has pulled into the driveway. Who is it? Who is here? It's the Ups man. The Ups man is here. He's bringing us, tell the Ups man, watch out for them skunks. So yeah, check out the ghee video. I love that. Oh, that's what I was going to tell you, Major, is, back in the day, back in the late 1800s, early 1900s, many farms had a summer kitchen and they would have their wood burning stoves that they would cook on in the kitchen. And then in the summer, the men would actually carry the stove outside to the summer kitchen. And that's where the ladies would do all of their cooking and baking because they didn't have air conditioning to cool down their houses. So they would cook outside in their summer kitchen. And then when winter would come, they'd bring the stove back in so they could cook and run the fire in the house to keep the house warm. Welcome mat is always out, but not necessarily always for the skunk. The dog security system. There goes my Ups man. Those poor guys, they're here all the time. I need to warn them not to leave the door open when they come here, though, because now maybe the skunk might jump in and become a stowaway. All right, I've said goodbye 3 times now. Friends, watch for the video to post on my first story about the pantyhose. If you're late showing up here, the first story for Mama's Tangles and Yarns will be about pantyhose. And join us on Saturday morning when we spin for some money and a location to stuff my muffin, that piñata, with Team Weenie Watchers. And we'll see you again here next Wednesday for our coffee chat. Until I see you then, take care of yourself. Take care of each other and have a blessed day. I'm going to say goodbye and then read the final comments. Bye-bye. I'm going to end the broadcast or I'll talk forever.